Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Thursday, July 29th. This is Africa 54.
Ethiopian protesters react to a deadly attack by reportedly blocking a vital trade corridor as ethnic and regional tensions continue. South Africa's recent riots lay bare long-standing anger over insecurity and inequality, despite nearly 3 decades of post-apartheid democracy. Nigeria's Olympic D Tigers basketball team continues to press toward the gold, as it also inspires amateurs back home to swoosh the net.
Protesters in Ethiopia's Somali region are angry at a deadly attack that has been blamed on a militia from neighboring Afar, reportedly blocked a vital trade corridor. It is the latest example of how simmering ethnic and regional tensions threaten to destabilize the Horn of Africa nation. David Doyle explains.
Hundreds of people took to the streets in Jigjiga, capital of Ethiopia's Somali region, on Wednesday, angry about a deadly weekend attack on a Somali town. The local government says a militia from neighbouring Afar was responsible and that hundreds of civilians were killed. It's the latest flare-up of a local boundary dispute and an example of the numerous ethnic tensions in Africa's second most populous country. Since taking office in 2018, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been trying to unify Ethiopia, a country of more than 80 ethnic groups. But he's struggled to contain a surge in violence as regions and ethnic groups vied for more power or settled old scores. The most deadly bloodshed has been in the Tigray region, where war broke out between the central government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front last November. That conflict has recently spread into Tigray's neighbouring Amhara and Afar regions, threatening further destabilization. Back in Somali, the region's president, Mustafa Mohamed Omar, said on Wednesday that youths protesting Saturday's attack had blocked a vital road and rail trade artery. It links the capital Addis Ababa to the seaport of Djibouti, and according to a 2018 United Nations report, 95% of Ethiopia's imports are transported via that corridor. The reported blockage could not be independently verified. Abiy's office and authorities in Djibouti could not be immediately reached for comment.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. Riots across South Africa this month exposed a long-simmering anger over inequality and insecurity in the country that analysts say is an issue South Africa has not been able to overcome despite nearly 3 decades of democracy since the end of apartheid. Linda Giftash reports from Johannesburg.
Muhammad Ali Randera watched helplessly from outside his electronic shop in Soweto as determined looters broke through the heavy metal gate. In a matter of hours, his livelihood of the past 7 years disappeared. Nationwide, losses from the unrest and the economic disruption it caused are estimated in the billions of dollars. Small business owners like Randera are asking authorities why.
I'm really disappointed this government, why the government can't open up their hands and do this, targeting these people who are doing this nonsense thing. Because not only my shop, there's a million of people, they lost the business.
Experts say the riots erupted due to long-held frustrations that have been simmering among South Africans who feel marginalized. Extreme inequality has persisted since the ruling party, the African National Congress, was first elected in 1994. With the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, the already double-digit unemployment rate has soared above 30%. Seamstress Mampo Lasawana, who also lost her business in the turmoil, doesn't know how she will provide for her 3 children.
I hear that the government promised us to help us. So for now, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope so. No, I'm not getting any support from Norway.
President Cyril Ramaphosa announced earlier this week the return of a social grant for those who had lost their jobs during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Uninsured business owners like Randera and Lasawana can also expect funding, but the response has yet to restore public confidence in the state.
So there is some frustration that everything moves too slowly and that, we hear lots of wonderful promises, but if you're not actually going to carry them through, then what's the point?
Divisions within the Big Tent Party are also festering, while allegations of corruption under former President Jacob Zuma's administration mount. The political analysts say voters have few alternatives. Tired of waiting for their government, average citizens have taken the lead in rebuilding. Like the unrest, analysts say the do-it-yourself attitude is a symptom of the state's failures. Yet it may have also revealed the strengths of the country's democracy.
The Constitutional Court held firm, the different people in civil society and the institutions came out in support of the Constitutional Court. And despite the unrest, President Zuma remains in prison, which has to be seen as a triumph for the rule of law.
The country is now watching closely on how the law is being enforced on those involved in the riots. More than 2,500 people have been arrested, 6 of whom face charges for inciting violence. The government has said more arrests are expected. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Johannesburg.
In stark contrast from the COVID-skeptic policies of her predecessor, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan on Wednesday received her COVID-19 vaccination and encouraged others to do the same. Matthew Larotonda has more.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan received her vaccine in public on Wednesday, in the clearest signal yet of a break from the policies of her predecessor, John Magufuli, who had repeatedly dismissed the threat of the pandemic. To contrast, Magufuli had warned the population against COVID-19 vaccines and promoted at-home remedies, such as steam inhalation instead. But following his death in March, Hassan took office and the government has changed tack.
I wouldn't risk my life by taking this vaccine. I have agreed on my own volition to be vaccinated, knowing in any case I have been living with many other vaccines in my body for the last 61 years now.
Officials in the East African country now call for social distancing and emphasize mask wearing in public. Last week, Tanzania received its first batch of more than 1 million Johnson & Johnson vaccines as well, having joined the global vaccine sharing program in June. Hassan was joined by the Prime Minister, Chief Justice, and other leaders in receiving her shot and urged Tanzanians to encourage each other in the fight against the pandemic.
Matthew Larotonda of Reuters with that report. Cryptocurrencies make headlines for shaking up the financial world, but they are also gaining ground in less developed countries. In Kenya, an American economist who introduced blockchain technology for low-income urban customers has extended the cashless system to the countryside. Ruth Almendorp reports from Kilifi, Kenya.
26-year-old farmer Emmanuel Kahindi in Kilifi is using Kenya's cryptocurrency Sarafu to sell his vegetables and to buy supplies without having to use any cash.
Sarafu imenisaidia sana, especially.
Sarafu helped me a lot, especially as it makes me save my money, my Kenyan currency. I use Sarafu to purchase things for the garden like seeds and fertilizer.
Sarafu coins work like vouchers that can be exchanged for goods or services of other users of the currency. Anyone with a Kenyan mobile phone line can enroll with Sarafu. Users are given 50 Sarafu for free. After that, they earn coins by selling a product or service to another user. Sarafu is what's known as a community inclusion currency, or CIC, allowing people to give or take credit without having to deposit Kenyan shillings or other currency in the bank. It was created by an American economist through his Kenyan non-profit Grassroots Economics.
I think that's just where there's the most chronic lack of national currency. So I think what's happening is we're filling a gap, right? People say, look, the national ledger system, the national currency, it's just not available to us. We can't measure our trade in this thing.
Emmanuel offers his vegetables to a restaurant and gets Sarafu vouchers from the owner.
Sarafu is good because it allows us to get our farm produce straight from the local neighborhood farms and put it on our plate and serve it to our customers, and they're able to pay us with Sarafu.
Bitangan Demo is a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. He says such community-focused cryptocurrencies have a potential to expand beyond Kenya and in other parts of Africa. He says that cryptocurrencies give communities an option to monetize resources in a way that they can't do with cash, pointing at the cobalt mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo used in smartphones.
Nothing stops them from issuing a cobalt coin based on the reserves that we have in terms of cobalt. And the country then can raise sufficient resources to develop the country.
For Kenya, it would be the agricultural production across the nation and here in Kilifi. For Emmanuel, it's time to relax after work. He used sarafu to enjoy a well-deserved meal. Ruth Almendorp for VOA News, Kilifi, Kenya.
Let us know what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, how the success of Nigeria's national basketball team in pre-Olympic Games competition inspires players back home. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa 54. West African food right out of the box is the new undertaking by Washington, D.C.-based chef Eric Ajepong. Chef Ajepong is a finalist on the American network TV Bravo's cooking competition show Top Chef, and he's first-generation Ghanaian-American born. Passionate about introducing diners worldwide to West African cuisine, he is sharing some of his recipes in partnership with Ayo Foods through a selection of products featuring flavor-rich frozen entrees that are conveniently packaged and can be found in grocery stores across the United States. Africa 54 correspondent Lino Mudu caught up with culinary and public health nutrition expert and chef Eric Ajepong to find out more about this new project.
Chef Eric Ajepong, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
First of all, you are a talented chef. Many people know about you, but you were discovered by many people via Bravo's Top Chef contest. Can you tell us quickly what was the main takeaway for you from that experience?
Thank you for having me first, Lenore. It was one of the most challenging things that I've ever done in my life. I did it twice, but it was definitely one that revealed myself to me. You have some of the best palates in the world and cameras all over you while you're cooking your dishes and judging you. So it was very humbling, and I learned a lot about myself, and I think I became a better chef from it. So it was a great experience.
You bring a lot of your African heritage, specifically your Ghanaian heritage, in your culinary experience that you share with the world. How do you identify West African food and spices and everything?
The continent has been here for so long. It's so crazy that the food is so unknown. But to many palates and people that know the food over there, it's home. It's regular food. So I think what Ayo has done a great job of is really taking that idea and spreading it out globally and really championing that. And that's the hallmark of a great West African dish. A little bit of spice, some herb, and really slow cooking, getting as much of an extraction from the spices and everything else that we add in there, and get something super, super flavorful. So we were able to do that with our chicken yassa dish, our wache dish, really take the time and cook it out the way it should be. And then really having you kind of pick it up from your freezer and warming it up either in your oven or in your microwave and eating something in a matter of minutes that took a few hours to make and with a lot of love and a lot of attention behind it.
So tell us about some of the spices that you have and some of the food that you have there.
We have our dish, our chicken yassa dish. It's a Senegalese dish. One of my favorites. It's a beautiful chicken brace with a little bit of roasted onion, roasted garlic, and ginger. We cook that down with onions and lemon to this beautiful, almost like jammy consistency. Adds a little bit of heat from red pepper flakes as well. But we pair that off with a jasmine rice, which is really, really nice to kind of eat all together. Get that beautiful braised chicken that kind of melts in your mouth. It's so, so good. And then one of my favorite dishes, period, in the entire world is wache. I call it the OG rice and peas. And it really is that. It's cooked in these beautiful sorghum leaves that give you like this awesome earthy note. A little bit of coconut oil, roasted garlic puree as well. Ayo has an amazing product line with a little bit of pepper sauce, jollof rice, which is like the classic West African dish.
And you're making me hungry with all this. Now, why is it so important for you to bring the West African flavor to the American dining table?
I celebrate both cultures passionately. My folks come from Ghana, West Africa, Kumasi specifically, and I grew up in a very, very traditional West African home. I'm the first person in my family born here in the States. It makes me proud. I've been mentioning today, if I wasn't even a chef or even in the industry, just to see Ayo present West African food to the masses, to the nation, really in a way that I didn't see when I was younger or a child, it's so inspiring and very, very cool. So to be a part of it and even offer some of the dishes that I grew up eating, it's just like a home run. So I'm very, very proud of not only the push to West African food and really getting it to be a staple and have a legitimate seat at the table, but how Ayo's been able to do it and do it in a very beautiful, vibrant way. You can see that not only in the food, but you can see in the branding and the packaging and the type fonts and everything else. Check out ayo-foods.com, guys.
You talked about community, you talked about love when you referred to food. In Africa, food beyond nutrition has a sense of bringing people together and hospitality. Tell us about that from your perspective.
Yeah, I never had a meal, at least a memorable one, that was by myself. It's always with people around, friends, family, whether it be my wife or whoever. I think that's how we all like to enjoy a great meal and really bringing that whole aspect of communalism to a dining table is one that I, as a chef, like the way I like to eat and the way I like to present and cook my food for people. So you're making something really delicious, but then I guess the cherry on top, you could say, is really watching folks really enjoy it, laugh, and have a really good memory behind the meal that I just made them. So this is the thought behind West African food, like you mentioned. And it's really the thought behind Ayo and really the holistic kind of approach of this meal. Not only just, again, making something really good, but eat it with people and enjoy it and serve each other and really start creating dialogue and memories for each other and for yourself.
Enjoying, that's all it's about. And Chef Eric Adjepong, Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Take care.
I think I need some of that. That was Africa 54 correspondent Lino Mudu speaking with culinary and public health nutrition expert Eric Adjepong. As the U.S. economic recovery continues, many Americans want to buy new cars and trucks, but finding them is hard amid a global semiconductor shortage. VOA's Ken Faribault has more on how COVID-19 continues to impact supply and demand in the automotive industry.
Customers looking to purchase a new vehicle at one of Bill Walsh Jr.'s dealerships outside Chicago are met with mostly empty lots.
People will come up to me and say, "Are you guys okay? Are you going out of business?"
Walsh quickly explains he's not out of business, just low on options.
We're down to 9 new Toyotas in stock. Our typical carry level is 140 to 160.
Walsh's inventory is depleted because demand is strong amid a recovering economy. And this coincides with a shortage of semiconductors, or chips, that control the electronic systems in most vehicles. That's led to a slowdown in vehicle manufacturing.
We're looking at 35% of our normal carry level, and at a time when the market is churning so quickly, and there's just not a way to keep ahead of it.
The global shortage of semiconductors is forcing manufacturers like General Motors to stop most production in North America of trucks, one of Walsh's top sellers.
We typically have a couple hundred GM trucks, full-size trucks, in stock. We're down to 4 or 5 between 2 stores.
I think they were expecting the demand of things to crash.
John Delasassi says automotive manufacturers are historically conservative, and in reacting to the lockdowns and layoffs brought on by the global coronavirus pandemic, adjusted their forecasts to reflect what they thought would be reduced demand for new vehicles.
In response to that, they reduced their forecasts to the chip suppliers. That caused them to reallocate their capacity to other places. And when the demand came back faster than expected, the automakers no longer had a place in the queue, so to speak, and that caused the shortage there.
Delasassi says another factor in the shortage is the lack of domestic production.
I think in 1990, the U.S. had 37% of the global semiconductor manufacturing capacity. Today, it's down to 12%. And a lot of that has gone overseas, particularly to Asia.
It is the most challenging time that we have seen since I've been back in the business, in the family business, for 29 years.
As Walsh struggles to add inventory, he's not expecting a quick end to the crisis.
In talking to the manufacturers, the best case scenario is 6 months. The more reasonable scenario is a year to 2 years. They're talking about 2023 before you can see really a stabilization of the inventory.
In the meantime, Walsh and dealers across the country are trying to get creative with inventory that currently exists or can easily be procured.
We are working as hard as we can to source used cars to offset the lack of inventory on new cars.
Cox Automotive, which gathers data on used cars, reports the average price for a used car in America topped $25,000 in June, a record high. Kane Fairbaugh, VOA News, Ottawa, Illinois.
Israeli archaeologists say that new findings in Jerusalem's Old City are among the most significant ever discovered. They believe a large building they uncovered is a city hall from 2,000 years ago, where dignitaries could relax before visiting Jerusalem's Second Temple. Linda Gradstein reports from Jerusalem.
There is the above-ground Jerusalem with its ancient holy sites, and there is the below-ground Jerusalem. That below-ground Jerusalem just got more interesting with the discovery of a large underground hall that helps bring alive the history from 2,000 years ago.
We are currently actually in the middle of the Second Temple period. It's like, imagine to yourself time machine. It's the whole immersive experience. And one of the only places in Israel when you're not like just, okay, this stone is from the Second Temple time, or this wall is not. No, this whole area, we are surrounded by the Second Temple period.
The immense rooms were used as a triclinium, or a rest area for Israelite dignitaries on their way to the temple. The rooms will be a new feature on the route of the Western Wall tunnels, an archaeological site adjacent to the Western Wall. The wall is the only remaining part of the Second Temple complex destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans.
These latest excavations have revealed the building that was built here, next to the wall to the south. And it was one of the fanciest buildings from that time. We are very close to the Temple Mount, which is one of the most important and holiest places we have. And it makes sense that we are finding such impressive buildings here.
באופן טבעי, השרידים המרשימים יותר, החשובים ביותר והמפוארים ביותר, הולכים ונחשפים לנו בחלקים שקרובים להר הבית עצמו מבחוץ.
The most recent excavations were a partnership between Shachar Puni's antiquity authorities and Shlomo Tal's Western Wall Heritage Foundation.
Their job was to understand what is happening here. And our job is the storytelling, to tell the story, to bring a person into being inside the time of the Second Temple with all the challenges of it, with all the glory, with all the challenges before the destruction and the destruction.
Before the COVID pandemic shut down tourism to the Western Wall tunnels, more than 150,000 people visited every year. Few foreign tourists have been able to return, but Israelis are coming to explore these impressive new discoveries. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
The success of Nigeria's national basketball team, the Tigers, in pre-Olympic Games this month is inspiring amateur players back home. The Nigerians beat the top-ranked U.S. team at a friendly match and are currently the only African team competing at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Timothy Obiezu reports from Abuja.
18-year-old DeBlessing Asaburi started playing basketball at school in 2014. In 2017, she was named the most valuable player at a local match in her hometown in Nigeria's Delta State. But she aspires to be in the global basketball spotlight, a dream that Nigeria's stunning pre-Olympic basketball victories are bringing to life.
It's a motivation for we to be making waves over there, and then our names is already nationwide, and it's creating pathway for people who have felt, okay, basketball isn't something that you can use, it's not going to pay.
Nigeria is the first African country to qualify both male and female basketball teams together at the Olympics. But the Nigerian team on Sunday was defeated by Australia 84-67 in their opening match in Tokyo. Yet, supporters like professional basketball player Yahaya Abdul say that does not dim their hopes for the team.
I know we're going to do well. We're going to make the country, they're going to make the country proud. And we, back home here, we're here to support them 100%. Like me, I don't think I'll miss any of their games.
Despite Nigeria's run of success abroad, basketball is struggling back home. The country has not had a basketball league in nearly 4 years. Game facilities are inadequate and are often poorly managed or overlooked, says sports expert Oluwafemi Adefeso.
I think the advantage of the national teams doing well is something that the authorities haven't really harnessed. It's gotten so much attention, visibility, both at home and abroad. And I think that the opportunities there, are not being looked at. If we want basketball to grow, then we have to invest in those things.
Nigeria's The Tigers team at the Olympics is made up of 12 players, including 8 who have played in the NBA. The team must do well in Group B competition against Germany and Italy in coming games to reach the quarterfinals. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
Thank you for watching Africa 54.